Hey guys, welcome to another episode here at the pit stop. Today we had a customer come in with an '08 Chevy Tahoe. Car would intermittently sputter, he wasn't able to go. As he was driving, he'd shut the car off, start it back up, and the car would be fine. Whenever this would happen, he'd get the traction control light on and the reduced engine power. So he brought the car in, we ran some codes, and some of the codes we were showing, well, the primary one, our main concern in this case, was the P0641. The 5-volt reference circuit. The 5-volt reference circuit, one in this case, in this vehicle supplies the mass airflow sensor, the map sensor, the cam and the crank sensor, the accelerator pedal sensors, and it also supplies the fuel tank pressure sensor. Besides these codes, we also had a crank sensor code stored. So initially I thought maybe this was an issue with the 5-volt reference provided to the crank sensor. The crank sensor in this car is also located right down there next to the starter. So to get access to the actual sensor, you have to remove the starter. So my first initial thought was maybe, the 5-volt reference wire to the crank was touching the starter and hence why grounding out. And, we removed the complete harness from the crank sensor to the cam sensor all the way up. They come, all the 5-volt reference wires come out of the second plug in the ECM here, and they go, if you follow the wires, they go throughout this harness all the way up and eventually spread out. Within this wire bundle here, you have the ones going to the cam and the crank, as well as the AC pressure sensor, I believe, is also on this circuit. And then over there, they're spread out. So we first did a visual inspection to check and see what possible contact points could be touching ground, because this is a wire touching ground. And we couldn't find anything. And like I said, I was almost sure this was a crank sensor issue, because there was also a crank sensor wiring issue, I should say. And the wires were all fine. We tore out the whole harness. I found no videos on this, and I want to kind of show you guys once I found what the problem was. You see, the problem actually was, out of the 11 or 12 sensors this thing supplies, only one is in the fuel tank. And this is what we found. Okay, so next to the rear drive shaft, look at that. Look at that harness touching on the drive shaft. If you remove the harness, look at these wires. That's our issue there. This wire is touching the drive shaft here, hence grounding the 5-volt chip out and causing the whole vehicle to sputter. So if you got this code, this is something you need to look into.